Village clerk, please call the roll.
Burgess.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Washington.
Here. Okay. Item number 2, review preliminary services engineering agreement for federal participation. Will you do things you guys have in the packet?
This is saying the mayor had a project that the trustees had not approved, but I decided to approve. Is this all the same thing?
You know, I'm not sure. I think it's a different project.
If you look at that resolution, I think you have a copy of a resolution that was approved in 2014 that's a part of this project. This is the next phase to the I-9 394 project. This is through your entire packet.
Yeah, but the mayor had mentioned the trustees had failed to approve a project, so I got approved it because the trustees had not. So I'm trying to find out, is this the project?
This is a different project. This is
They're actually signed off on this project. Here's in your packet, you'll see that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that. I'm just trying to find out. We got multiple projects going on.
Yes, this is something that's different.
Yeah.
This is with Baxter and Woodman, they're our other engineering firm.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, this project is basically all three. If you look at the package, all three. And this is not the Mark Collins Drive project. The three that you have here, this is the Mark Collins. The one that number 2, there is no. Oh, that's there. I can see.
It's the third one. The one in your hand right there.
Okay, because this is not because number 3 does say at Mark Collins Drive. This one,
Right, this one's for number 3. This one, the first one's for number 2.
Well, the first one is I'm sorry. The first one is actually to review the preliminary services and
that's what I'm talking about. This is absolutely. This is. I was going to say number 2 is not these right here.
No,
Number 2.
this would be
It's
yeah.
just a.
Right.
That's what I was saying. Then.
The upper left-hand corner, I believe, it says preliminary services agreement.
It's in the
So the engineer. The next one is to actually review the public agency agreement for federal participation, which means that you want to be included in that project.
Okay.
There's different documents.
Okay.
No,
No, I don't have the engineering agreement. That's what I was trying to say. That's not in here. And that's the engineering agreement is not in here. We have here the Mark Collins Drive.
It says preliminary.
This is from
Preliminary services agreement for federal participation. That's this one that goes with number 3. And this one says local public agency agreement for federal participation that goes with number 1.
Are you looking for Baxter and Woodman, like an agreement from them?
That's what exactly.
Okay. I think what it is that they're going into, we are 2 different parties that are going through IDOT. So this is IDOT's form of talking to the village and talking to Baxter and Woodman. That's what this is. So we're not going to get an individual agreement with Baxter and Woodman. This is our agreement with IDOT as we're the local agency and that they're the consultant. This is our agreement with that.
The upper right-hand corner shows the consultants, Baxter and Woodman, and down here it says the engineer agrees to. These are your agreement positions. So this relates to your.
Now, is this one has the mayor already signed off on this one?
No.
I assume that we are supposed to be reviewing this, taking it home, reviewing it, and then it'll be on the agenda next week.
Yes, that's correct.
Madam. I saw that the cost of this is $124,000, and I'm trying to understand the resources we're using for that payment.
I'm not sure exactly what line item it would come out of. Possibly might be MFT funds. But that is a question that I will make sure the mayor or Mohan gets back to the board about, just know where it's coming from.
The project's already been approved back in 2014. This is the next stage, I believe. Because if you look through there, you see that there's an agreement that was signed in there.
That's
That
why I
doesn't say
asked.
where the funds are going to come
That's
from.
why I asked that question.
And it's normally when we deal with this type of project, it's normally
I don't want to say that that's where it's coming from. So I want to go on and tell the board.
Yeah, I see that as another phase. I'm just concerned about 2014, we said, yeah, we're going to do this.
That's part of the multi.
And now I'm saying that if in fact funds are short, where are we going to get the money from to pay $125,000? That's the question.
I will ask that the mayor or the finance director get back to the board prior to Friday, so everybody can have that information.
Was this upgrade brought up by Sauk Village, or the state decided that this was a needed upgrade as far as the left turn lane and all that right there?
This was something I think was a collaborative effort by IDOT, and we reached out to this Baxter and Winter consultants. So it was something that, from what I can recall from 2014, was the developers in that area, the village, and Baxter and Woodman were approached by IDOT. So then that's what this was the result of.
I'll also hold minutes with the board of trustees. I'll hold minutes with the meeting where this was discussed, so you'll have further clarification before next Tuesday. And any questions you have, please come see me behind our mayor reporters. So you have further questions.
Okay, reading through this real quickly, that's my fault, I didn't get a chance to, but now I understand the project. This is the project that's going to be on the south side of the Sauk Trail. And it's also going to include a bike path all the way from 394 to Cottage Grove Avenue. This would be, well, I understand, this is our cost for the engineering part of it, but IDOT is going to fund the entire project. But this is what we have to pay, $122,000. And you're right, Trustee Tates, that where we're going to get the $124,000, because this is our. If you look at the agreement summary, you'll see that Baxter and Woodman gets a certain portion, and then the rest of it is the soil consultants. And this is what has to be done prior to them, because they're going to do the project, IDOT, the Department of Transportation, but they need us to do our due diligence, and our due diligence is that amount. Where it's coming from?
But see, in addition to that, if you're going to put that walkway, I guess it's a walkway.
It's a bike path.
On the south side of Sauk Trail, don't forget we have bus stops along Sauk Trail, and there's no crosswalk in any of them. And I think one of the concerns the mayor had was pedestrian traffic. So if they're not able, if there's nothing designated for them to cross, even if they're going to take the bus, I'm just questioning why that wasn't put into the whole agreement when we started talking about, and I say we, uniformly, why did we include crosswalks for the safety of pedestrians? If our concern was pedestrians in the first place, then we should have designated crossing areas to help protect pedestrians, if that's our concern. And I'm not even sure what concern.
Yeah, did you, yeah. Now, the project, if you look at page 1, at the bottom, it says we'll be utilizing federal funds. So, and I guess this is the criteria that we have to do, and it's going to be going through Sauk Suburban's mayors and managers. So, I'm still like you. I still want to know where we're going to, even before we get started, even before this project happens, we have to pay, we have to take care of this engineering part of it first, and then submit that to SSMMA, who does have the funds, and then that's how they're going to release it, but it has to, we have to do our due diligence. And it was talked about, but it was never talked about how we're going to actually pay for the engineering, because I'm sure that $122,000 is a drop in the bucket how much it's going to cost to do all that. So.
It really would help if you guys kind of bring your questions before the meeting. I could have had everything copied for you and had you before the meeting. Please review your packets, it's good in your boxes.
Well, I did actually expect it. a more thorough explanation of what we're trying to do. It's not about asking everybody questions prior to the meeting. It's just that during the presentation, if we're reviewing documents, I would expect the presentation to include a more thorough understanding of what we're trying to do.
Well, unfortunately, we found out that the mayor wasn't going to be here, so the mayor probably going to go ahead and explain to that. But if you do that on Friday, and you ask your questions, I could have had all kinds of things happen before the regular trustees.
Well, but even though that didn't happen, I think that at this point now, if you guys have any other questions, I have no problem with passing them on to the mayor, because the mayor should be the one to answer those questions for you. So I wrote down the 2 questions you had. Did anybody else have any questions?
No, I just wanted to ask the village clerk, do you have an answer for where we're going to get the money?
I'm looking at the resolution that was signed. Again, it says the village board hereby approved, and you all approved, that there is hereby appropriated the sum, which means it's appropriated already in 2014, the sum of $124,000 from the village general fund, of which $99,200 will be reimbursed to the village by the state of Illinois. So I didn't want to tell you until I had this in front of me, but my recollection was that we were going to pay less than $25,000. So what happens is that we will pay $124,000 from the village fund, of which $99,200 will be reimbursed to the village by the state of Illinois. So that's costing us approximately $25,000 to be a part of this project. That's what's within your local public agency agreement, the first one. Okay, I believe that's the first one. And all this simply stipulates is that you agree to be part of this federal participation project. But within the packet you got on Friday, it stipulates, this page I was just reading. It's actually at the back of the one that says local public agency agreement. It's this one right here.
Very back on C.
The other one, that one.
Very bottom of that is. I thought that was 100% on the state now. Now we want to give $124,000. We're going to step back $99,200. But yes, that's still going to leave us a couple bucks there.
The board previously approved that agreement though, and like I said, I will be very happy to pull the minutes from that meeting so you can see what was done previously. But within the packet you received on Friday, that's what the explanation was.
I just have, I mean, I know what you're saying, Madam Clerk. However, that was in 2014. We have to front $124,000 right now and wait on our money when the state decides to pay us back. And that's where I'm trying to find out where and what fund are we going to pull this from that we can float it until the state decides. Because the state won't pay until the project is complete.
Well,
And that's what I'm looking at. I know they won't, I mean, yes, they're going to promise to pay, but I was going to ask for clarification. And it says here that they're going to pay, but what are the terms? Are they going to pay after the project? And we know that project can last for a couple of years. In the meantime, we've paid $124,000.
and also, is this something, what are the deadlines on this? And is this something that we're going to be shelling out $124,000 soon? And it says from the general fund, do we have that amount?
So
I think that while this is in the resolution, I think it's something that needs to be addressed by the finance director and the mayor.
I mean, it's nice that we're going to get back everything for $24,000, but do we have the money to float $122,000 and we get it back in a year and a half? So that's something that and that's what I was coming to find out, because I did read this and I did see that, but so I was wondering when I said where was the money coming from. I knew that the agreement was here on 2014. So I just wanted to know from the general fund, because I didn't see it in the budget, this last budget. I didn't see anything in that budget that stated that we were going to front for a grant from IDOT. So that's something that we should think about if we have that there to even do this project, which is a good project, but can we afford it? I mean, it's going to be millions of dollars. How do we get, I mean, we'd be crazy not to if we'd have the money, but I would like to have the board to discuss where we can pull the money from, and the board be, you know, together in agreement where we're going to take the money out of.
Well, I've written down the questions, and I'm also adding a deadline. Is it something that needs to be on next Tuesday's agenda? Is it something that, due to, you know, we're going to lose this opportunity or whatever, or is it something that can be readdressed in another committee meeting? So I think the board needs to know kind of like what deadline we're up against. Right.
But regardless of it, this project is already in motion, correct?
Yes. Yes. Right, but there's a portion, obviously, that if we're discussing here, there's a portion that needs to be voted on next, I would assume it's going to be on the agenda next Tuesday, so I want to know, is this something that needs to be voted on next Tuesday as a part of the project because of where we are in the project, or what? So I'm just adding deadline. Does anybody else have any questions about items 2 and 3 to pass on to the mayor or the finance director? No? Okay. Okay. Item number 4, review suggestions to amend public comment ordinance number 11-024. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
A while back, the trustees asked if we take this back to the ordinance committee and review it and bring forth some recommendations. Well, we took it forth, and my committee did look at it, and we did make up some recommendations. And I think yes, it passed out to you later on tonight. Let me do a little background, just a little bit where you understand where we're at. I met with my co-chair of the committee last night, and we came up with some other things that we'd like to throw at you tonight. But once again, the overall commitment's going to have to be all share the same thing. We have to all equally agree what going away from this ordinance. One of them is public comments shall last no longer than a period of 1 hour, regardless if we go with 3 minutes or if we go with 5 minutes. It should be called a halt within a 1 hour time period. That would get in the last few months, we haven't extended that close to the hour yet. We have had meetings that have gone back when 3-4 years ago, they went to 2-3 hours, and that's something that we all like to kind of stop. And the other thing that we have established is that Robert's rules and everything says that if you are asked by the chair to relinquish the floor or to step down from the podium and you continue to do it, then we don't have any way to take care of it. No, we're not going to bring police officers in here and take the people and put them down in a chair. That's ridiculous. But however, I think it should be noted that if somebody does refuse to step down from the podium, then the mayor will ask them to relinquish the podium, or he will close the session for comments. We have to have some type of discipline there where we can do it. Or otherwise, you might get a person, I'm just saying, you might get a person up there that will go on for an hour or so hollering about something and very unruly and stuff. We don't want that to happen. So once again, we need to look at some type of way to, when the person has met his allotted time, regardless if it's 3 or if it's 5, and then when the time is up, then he should relinquish the podium. We'd also discussed that should have the opportunity to discuss any items, both committee and the whole meeting. I feel that we should open it, but once again, it's not totally up. The committee feels the same way, and I got flies on it. So once again, I'm asking the trustees to, let's discuss this and see if we want to go that way. If we do, then we have to add it to the amendment to the ordinance, where it be in black and white. When we get done, everything we agree to, it will be on that amendment. However, and everyone up here knows, at any time you can request an amendment to ordinance. And there again, there's something that we might want to consider. Do we want to put this on a trial basis for 60, 90 days, or 120 days, see if it works before we actually go into it? Or it's something we should look at. And because it's a new venture, we're going to go out, so we're going to see which way works for us and works for the residents. That's the main goal. So, it's a couple of items, I've listed them. I don't know if yes, they did. So, we have tonight in front of us, are we going to extend the public comment from 3 to 5 minutes? Are we going to open the comments for both meetings for the residents to voice their opinion on certain items they want to? And are we going to establish a time limit for the open comments? The one other item that I brought in is the order and discipline of during the public comment session. You know, we're all adults and we need to maintain order at any time that we're doing it. And I say that both the board, the mayor, and the residents. We're all adults. We can handle it. And the last is one of the other comments that was made that we should do is have a suggestion box. People can put their comments in there, and the mayor can read the comments from to the audience at the meeting. Those are the comments I have got back. Our recommendation was handed out to you, and they're going to be extended public comments from 3 to 5 minutes. Public comments open to both regular board meeting and the committee meeting on any items, and there'll be a time limit to be put on and maintain the order on it, the comment itself, when someone's talking. With that, I would like to open up for discussion. What do you guys, and ladies?
As you guys recall, we did discuss this a couple different times, and one of the things that I had asked was, were they two separate items? Because there was talking about anything, and there was talk about extending the time. So one of the things that Trustee Myers and I did yesterday was kind of take all of the concerns that everybody had and kind of take it out in an outline. What I envision is if we could kind of go through quickly each individual item, and we cannot vote at this board meeting. That's not, this is a committee meeting. But what I would like to do is get a general consensus for each topic. Because what we will have to do from here is, you guys all have the ordinance in your packet. So this is what happened in 2011 to kind of, and that's how it was structured. But why we do the comments and questions now is how based on this ordinance. So what will need to happen is this ordinance will need to be amended. But I wanted to get the board's wishes to be in the amendment and kind of stick to it this time, because we've gone back and forth with these a couple different times. So to just, what is the consensus of the board for each individual item, so that we can get it into the ordinance, and the ordinance can go back to the ordinance review committee to review, and then it can come back to the board and it can be voted on, and then either it's going to change or it's not going to change. So if nobody has any questions or concerns with that, go ahead.
When we start talking about this, I think recently, a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I think Trustee Burgess had brought it up, and I had told him that I would share some information that I had, and I had a draft of an ordinance which is not reflected in what we have. So what I would like to do for the ordinance committee is I have a copy here. I can provide the same copy I provided to Trustee Burgess. And when you guys go back to the table, you'll have, basically you have 2 documents you're looking at. But maybe you can merge those into one or throw one away.
Sure.
Whichever way.
Trustee Jones?
Well, my concern is about the address, as far as giving out your address in this ordinance. Is that the correct thing? That's part of the ordinance?
That's no longer required, but it's part of this ordinance, so that would be something that would be taken out.
And with the suggestion box for the mayor, would that be part of that meeting, or would that be part of the next meeting, and how would that be structured?
When Trustee Myers presented it the first time, because the ordinance review committee that's comprised of himself and residents, what their suggestion was to have the suggestion box in the, like on the back table. And either during the meeting or prior to the meeting, people could come and they could put in notes. And then prior to the section for public comment, what the mayor would do was get up, grab the box, bring it up here, read them aloud, and then answer the questions. That was one of the things that the ordinance review committee suggested. So we can start with that item. Is that something that, as a board, it wasn't taken with a lot of favor last time, but I'm just kind of looking for a consensus of yes and no.
I think it's a good thing that, because it kind of leaves not knowing who it is, and at least the question can be asked. Some people don't want to be standing in front of the microphone, so I think that's a good idea.
Are you saying in addition to public comment or instead of?
In addition to.
Okay. Any other trustee, what do they think about
I'm
that?
not sure of the source, but I don't think, and if you have a suggestion box, it's almost like you saying it's mandatory that you use it because it's there. And I'm not sure by law you can require residents to submit their comments ahead of the meeting. The suggestion box. I mean, that's something you may want to research, but I don't think you can have that as a requirement. I would rather it. Once you research it, you'll find out the answer, whether or not it's legal or not. But I'm not sure that it is.
I know the last time that it was brought up by Trustee Myers that it wasn't very favorable as a board. So is this something, we have one trustee who has said that he is in favor in conjunction with people coming to the podium. Again, I'm just kind of looking for a consensus because whatever we decide here is going to go back, but I'd like to see it all in the ordinance. Plain out, this is how public comments and questions are going to go. So is there another trustee or two that we would need to, okay, so you're against it. Suggestion box. I personally am not either.
I do want to ask Trustee Tate, the ordinance that you're asking about that's prepared, do you want to give that to the board and then give it to the ordinance committee so they can review it?
I can take this is my only copy.
Oh.
But I can make sure I get copies tonight and put in everyone's box.
Okay, and it's something that we can look at?
Yeah.
And because are we going to do either or? That's what the reason why I'm asking. Are we going to do either that one or this one? Does this have something in?
What that?
No, I'm talking about their suggestion.
This is like a cheat sheet.
No. I'm talking about the suggestion from the ordinance committee.
I think what Trustee Tate has is an example of an ordinance regarding public comment, and we have the run that we have.
Correct.
So I think what he was asking is that the ordinance review committee could look at the two
Correct.
and combine them.
Okay.
But this is a separate item because these are things that we've brought up as a board.
Correct.
That regardless of if we stick with this format or stick with that format, these are questions that we had. So
that's what I'm saying. You want to include this in the ordinance.
Yes.
Okay, and that's why I was asking you, does the ordinance that you came up with, does it have any of these in it?
Some, yes. Some, yes, not all. I wasn't there, so don't know. It does not have everything they talked about.
So, so that means before we can make a decision, we need to look at both, and then, unless I say give it to the ordinance review committee and let them look at it, but I understand that the ordinance review committee wants to know right now, on these different items that you came up with, how does the board feel about it?
Yeah,
That's what you want to.
Even if, because obviously it's already been suggested that we change our current ordinance. So whether we adopt the format and maybe the possible wording in the one that Trustee Tate is suggesting, regardless, these are the questions that has been brought up by the board. So these are the questions that we need answers to proceed.
Okay. Then, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, so then, basically what you're asking about, Pro Tem, is the suggestion box comment. How did the board feel about that? I mean, obviously, the first, I think number 1 and number 3 are kind of, if we're going to extend the comment from 3 to 5 minutes, then the established time limit for public comment will be 5 minutes.
Well, yeah.
But excuse me, my question is, why are we skipping those? Are we supposed to go down the line for each one?
Ideally, I would have liked to start at number 1, but Trustee Jones brought up those suggestion box. Obviously, we would start with there and then go up.
Okay, we can go up.
So we could just stick on there. Yeah, ideally, I would start at the top, but he chose to start at the bottom, which is fine. We'll just go up.
I don't want to be too confused.
With the suggestion box, we've had 3 trustees say no. We've had 1 trustee say yes. We have 2 trustees who have not spoken. So do either of you 2 gentlemen have a feeling about it?
I see a problem with the suggestion box. I think we should have a suggestion box.
Use the mic,
I think
please.
it should be there for, I have no problem with a suggestion box. I think it should be out there for any residents to come in and put a suggestion in there. And again, the mayor has to read it at the meeting during the comment section from the residents. There may be a resident that's unable to make the board meeting, or for one reason or another, maybe he's working, maybe she's working, and they put a right out suggestion and put it at the bottom. Instead of coming up to the trustee and talking to them. I really have no problem with a suggestion a box to put in there, your complaints in there.
Okay, Trustee Burgess?
The only problem I have with suggestion box, it will, if you do both at the same night, then yes, you will extend it. It's going to be a long meeting. Because if you're going to have 20 suggestions in the suggestion box and still take questions and comments from the audience at that same time, that's going to be a long time.
That's why I'm not in favor.
So if you do one or the other, maybe you take a few, or maybe the mayor himself can take them and get back with whoever. But if you're going to answer the questions if people sit down and fill out the questions that night and put them in the suggestion box, he reads them out. Now you're going to have people that's going to stand in line and ask questions too. So I think that's going to make it a long meeting. I mean, it's a nice to have, but I think if you have questions, I think that you should come up to the podium and ask.
So that would be a no?
That would be a no.
Okay. So stating that that's 4 no's to 2 yeses, then I don't think that the ordinance review committee needs to research Trustee Tate's question. If there was an even, I was going to suggest maybe we should, but if it's 4 to 2, then we'll go with no for that. Do you guys want to go up from here or start at number 1?
Your prerogative.
Okay. Well, we've already started at the bottom and go up, so let's go up now. Maintaining order and decorum during the public comment. One of the things that we had, Trustee Myers and I had talked about at the standing committee meeting yesterday was kind of the creation and why this ordinance was amended in 2011. For those of you who were not on the board at that time, and for those of us who were, we can recall there was a lot of situations in the board meetings during public comment where things got out of hand. There were comments on it, there were articles written about it, about the decorum that just happened in the boardroom. People were supposed to be addressing the board, and they would address each other. There was yelling and screaming in between audience members, and at that time, there was often times where police officers were asked to be at the board meeting. to act as a sergeant of arms in the case where they might have to keep the decorum. One of the things that Trustee Myers and I talked about last night is that's not something we want to bring back. We do not want to have police officers coming off the street to stand in the back of the board meetings, taking them off the street, or causing overtime. It's not something that we thought that should happen. One of the things that I suggested was, in a way to kind of combat that, would be to add language in the ordinance that each audience member has one opportunity to speak, which is what we have now. All comments and questions must be stated in the allotted time about the appropriate topic per ordinance. Now, what I mean there is that would change. If it's from 3 minutes, if it's from 5 minutes, whatever their allotted time is, and whatever their appropriate topic is. If we choose to go to any topic at any meeting, I didn't know where we were with that, so that's why I put that in there for. Once the floor is yielded back to the mayor or designee, the audience member shall no longer comment or pose any questions. Should this occur, the mayor or designee shall ask the audience member to yield the floor and return to their seat. Should the audience member refuse to do this, the mayor or designee shall end public comment at their discretion and continue with the agenda as planned. The mayor or designee has the right to return to public comment should time permit. And that is what Trustee Myers was talking about as a way to remove the situation before it got any worse. If there was somebody who was at the podium, going back and forth with the mayor or the designee, going back and forth with audience members, if the mayor thought that it was getting out of hand, he could end public comment and then go on to other agenda items, or if that's the last item on the agenda, he could end public comment and maybe go to like miscellaneous from the Board of Trustees, which would be usually like the last comment before adjournment. And then once the decorum was brought back, he would have the opportunity to go back to public comment. And I look at that as like a cooling off period. People would go back to their seats, the people would calm down, and that way other people who may have been in line behind that person don't miss out on the opportunity to ask their questions. So, I agree with Trustee Myers, there was something that needed to be done about decorum, but I wanted to make sure that there was the opportunity that was left back to go back. Because I don't want, because of the actions of maybe a few, you have residents that aren't able to come back and answer their questions. So that was just my suggestion for the public decorum. And that would be our fourth item on here. So does anybody have any questions? Are we okay with that? Is there suggestions, Trustee Cates?
And it's been mentioned by trustees themselves of decorum. So it's not just the audience asking about it or us asking about it. Any meeting, decorum comes from the person presiding over the meeting. If the mayor is in control, you're in control tonight. It is your responsibility to maintain decorum. So you don't need the police standing back there. You're in charge. This is yours. So I don't think we need to go to that extent of saying you're going to reprimand or have someone arrested. Now, prior to the trustee, there's a lot of heckling that goes on in the audience, and we know that. And if you don't want to agree to that, that's fine. But if you're in charge of the meeting and there's heckling going on in the audience, then the person in charge has to bring that up and say, we're not going to allow it, or whatever words you want to use. So the control of the meeting is yours, and it's not anyone else's. So decorum, I think, starts at that point. And I've chaired meetings where there have been opposing sides and people in disagreement. That's fine that you're in disagreement, but you still must conduct yourselves in a proper fashion during the meeting. So, I mean, I don't think you could mandate everyone be nice to each other.
No.
But I think that you can say that there would be no heckling or any kind of intimidation or anything going on amongst members in the audience. I think you can certainly take action on that.
Okay.
And the part about the mayor, I'm saying the mayor, coming back later, I think that's a disadvantage to people who are already standing in line waiting because one person took longer and then you're going to cut it off. Now, they have to wait another week or 2 weeks to ask their questions. I think it's kind of a disadvantage to them.
So, and that's why I said that the mayor could go back. So, and it does say could hurt. Trustee Washington.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I feel that the question should continue. I don't think that the mayor should stop asking the public comments and go to miscellaneous or anything else. If he's able to have decorum under control, then he needs to let the comments continue. If somebody is in line and if somebody gets out of order, and then if the mayor stops the comment and then we do something else, maybe that person got to go home. They got babies. They got to go home. They got to leave. They can't wait. They got in line to talk. Again, they've already ready to depart, came in the meeting where they could speak. So personally, I would feel if I'm in line waiting to talk to the mayor and talk to the board about something that I feel in the village, and somebody in front of me has a situation where it becomes irate, then to shut it down and make me go sit back down and wait longer until we can come back up again to talk. Take care of that situation and let us continue talking. I mean, we're all adults. If they got to be removed to actually sit down, I feel that the people shouldn't have to sit down and wait, because sometimes public comments, or if we still have long, I think you said go back to the agenda or miscellaneous. If we have some more agenda to talk about, we could talk about agenda 30 or 40 more minutes. So we're already on public comments. To make them go sit back down and wait longer to get back up to talk again, I just feel that could be an inconvenience to some of the people. And also, I don't know if this falls up under this category, but a lot of people, I feel, want to change the way that the questions are being answered. When they're asking the mayor a question, they want to answer then. They don't want to ask 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 questions, and then the mayor say, "Are you done?" And then he answered them all because maybe something that he said, they have a rebuttal to that or another question about that. So I don't know if that can be a part of changing the ordinance too, the way that the mayor answers the question, although that's his discretion. I don't know if that's a part of the ordinance. If you could take that before the committee, is that something that they could ask the mayor to do, to answer the questions when the residents are asking them then? Don't make them wait till the end and then he just answers them all, because oftentimes I hear residents, they want to ask something else based on what he answered, but they're not allowed to. They have to just go and be done.
That was part of what we had talked about in the original ordinance because of time. When you put the time limit on there, it gets iffy as far as time starts, you have 3 minutes, okay?
Right.
If I ask my first question, and my first question takes me 25 seconds to say, the mayor talks and answers that question.
They usually stop.
But when that happened, then that got messy, because then people were saying, oh, I had more time, and people weren't keeping track the same. Now, we only have one official timekeeper, and that's the clerk.
Right.
But audience members were, well, this person got this many minutes because they had the time for the rebuttal, which is why it was decided that every person step up, they have their 3 minutes to ask all of their questions or concerns or whatever, and then they would be addressed. And usually, the mayor does say that, that there is no back and forth, but he has asked that residents do come up afterwards if they have any more questions based on what he stated, and then that could be discussed. So that's not something that we reviewed, because that wasn't something that was brought up prior to tonight, but if that's something that the board thinks it needs to be addressed, I personally think it's messy when it goes back and forth. When you've got work time and everything else, because people do watch the clock, and they might say that this resident got 3 minutes and 45 seconds total, or this person got a total of 10 minutes because their questions may have only been 25 seconds apiece, but the conversation back and forth went this much longer, and how come I don't get this amount of time? So I think that that's why we structured it that way. But again, this is a board consensus, so if anybody else thinks that that needs to be addressed, then we can address that. But
I understand what you're saying, but Clerk Williams, weren't you always the one keeping the time? And when they would finish asking a question, you would stop and then let them know how much time they had. So time really wasn't a question.
She kept going back and forth, stopping,
right.
starting, and stopping, and starting.
And it just depends on what the mayor wants to do, because the former administration, that's what they did, but the new administration, they changed it, so it's the preference of the mayor. But I was asking, is that a part of the ordinance that we have an opportunity to ask the mayor to change, or that's just what he wants to do because he is the mayor?
well, we're creating the ordinances. The ordinance in and of itself is public comment. We, as a board right now, are looking at the different aspects of public comment, and we have the opportunity to amend it in any way we want to. So if that's not something that Trustee Myers and I discussed, because it wasn't brought up prior to tonight. But if anybody else thinks that that's something that needs to be altered, then we can discuss that and kind of come up with a yes and no version of that too. Trustee Tate, did you?
I was wondering, yes, as trustees we're discussing what to do with the ordinance. Tonight, are we going to ask for some input regarding this from the audience since they're here?
Well, this item is before our public comment, so I do write down all of their questions. So I'm sure somebody out there will have a comment about it, and I will write it down. Does anybody else, since we're, as far as maintaining order and decorum, what I discussed about the mayor having the opportunity to stop public comment should it get out of hand, and then have the opportunity to go back. We have one trustee that said no, and Trustee Tate, I don't use, okay. So 2 trustees that say no. Is there?
I think you should not suspend public comment because a person may be doing that on purpose, disrupting so he can stop or whatever the case may be. I think if that person gets unruly, then we would have to censor that particular person and say, okay, well, your time limit or whatever is up. If you want to discuss it any further, we can do so after the meeting, but right now let's move on and move forward. Because if he suspends it, then that means like Trustee stated, then everyone that's standing there and came out to ask questions, it's up to him to decide whether or not he wants to take questions after a period of time. I think that the person that's causing the confusion, be excused, have a seat or whatever, we'll discuss it after the meeting, but let's move on and move forward and just ask, the ones that are left in line. So I think no.
Okay. I think that part of the issue is that there have been times where the mayor or the designee has asked said individual to relinquish the floor, and that individuals have not. So in that case, what do? It's a back and forth with the resident versus the mayor, the designee. You have to relinquish the floor, we've moved on, but in some people, 4 or 5 times back and forth, and then they relinquish. Sometimes it's not. So that's why this was a suggestion that I made. So obviously I'm gonna vote yes for it, but because of my suggestion. But if not, I think it's something that needs to be addressed, because what I was thinking when I had written it down is, hopefully, like Trustee Washington said, we're all adults in here. So what would hopefully, in my mind, happen, first couple times, there might be some friction going back and forth. But what I would like to see is when you have that situation where the mayor cuts down the public comment for 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long, and people are, they have to stay back and they have to wait to answer their questions, then that might prohibit them in the future from going outside of the decorum, or it might help them suggest to their friends or their other residents, you know what, let's move on so we don't have to have this break.
But if a person, no, I'm sorry, but Madam Mayor Pro Tem, but if a person has it in their mind to disrupt, and they may come every time to do that, and that's what I'm saying. If you suspend it, that now becomes a game. Because now I know that we're going to suspend questions and answers, so I'm going to be disruptive so we don't have to do that. And so I'm just thinking that we could either tell that person to have a seat, not call any law enforcement, but ask them to have a seat, take a 2-minute hiatus or whatever, and then come back, because they may want to come and they may be there just to disrupt. Some people have passion. They're passionate, they have a passion for whatever they want, and they feel the answer that they're getting is not what they want. If that's the case, then let's talk about it afterwards. But don't punish everyone for what a few people are doing.
So you're saying like a 2-minute hiatus? So.
I take it right. I mean, but not having where he has it, where the mayor has at his discretion to come back and say, okay, I'll take questions. I may take questions afterwards. Having where we take maybe a minute or 2-minute break or whatever, and then come back and talk to the ones that are actually standing in line. Because if not, then it may be a question that even the mayor, maybe one of the board members may not want to be asked. If we shut it down, then that's good. You don't have to answer that question.
So are you saying then, should the mayor ask for the floor to be yielded back? Should the audience member not do that? Instead of ending public comment, the mayor could recess the meeting for 2 minutes.
Yes, there you go.
To maintain, to recover decorum, and then reopen the meeting.
Yes. That would be, I would like to see that much, I would like to see that better than, because now what happens is if people, if people know that they're gonna be, or the meeting, or the questions are not gonna be answered, they're not gonna come. They're not gonna come out. Why should they? Because they come out, a lot of people come out to hear things, a lot of people come out to ask questions. If I can't get my questions asked or answered, then why am I here?
I think that's a good compromise.
I was just gonna say something along the lines of that as well, because if I have to go back and sit down, I'm just gonna go home. Because I've already been waiting to talk. You know, we're here to hear what the residents have to say. So once it's their turn to talk, if I'm gonna keep shutting it down and going on with the agenda, people say, you know, I gotta go, I can't keep waiting. If it's their turn, I'm just gonna, if we can have a recess or do something to deal with that person that's causing the situation, but I don't wanna make the residents go back and sit down and wait till we talk some more and go through the agenda some more, then come back and get in line. I think that's putting too much, you know, anticipation for them to have to wait, especially if they're on a time limit. Some people got children with them, you know, some got something they gotta go do. They don't wanna keep waiting and waiting just to be able to talk 3 minutes and then still don't get your questions answered.
Okay. Trustee Tate?
To me, part of this boils down to respect. I think some of the audience members that I've seen become adamant and out of control, perhaps, because they feel they're being disrespected. So whether it's you or the mayor, I'm not picking up.
No, I know.
If someone comes up to speak and you're disrespectful to them, then yes, you're going to have a problem with them. I think that as the person in charge, if you respect that individual, respect their right to say whatever they want to talk about, then I think the problems are going to be minimal. I really do. The last couple of weeks, what I've seen happen is disgraceful. It's embarrassing. But for us to treat residents like they don't matter, they do. So I think respect to the speaker may minimize some of that.
Okay. So based on the combination of my suggestion and the amendment that Trustee Burgess did with the 2 minutes, instead of removing public comment, going on to the next agenda item, instead of doing that, recessing for 2 minutes, should you in favor of that for Trustee Burgess?
Yes.
Okay, I am too. Trustee Tate? I'm sorry.
There's an explanation of why you're doing it.
Yes, yes, okay. Trustee Jones?
I think it just should keep moving. I don't think we need to take 2 minutes out. It's being like Trustee Tate said, respectful. If you're being respectful, I truly and honestly, I haven't ran into anyone that has that mentality of just want to disrupt. It comes when the disrespect comes. And if the meeting is ran properly, I don't believe that we're going to run into that issue. And if we do, a rule is a rule. If you're being unruly, you're being unruly. And to stop and to hold up a meeting, you need to remove yourself. You really should, and we should keep moving on for the rest of the residents that want to have something to say. I mean, to stop for 2 minutes and then to stop for another 2 minutes, and that's going to add up to a long night just as well. I believe that the people, that the residents come here and they have questions. If the questions are being answered and they're being answered respectfully, we shouldn't have that issue. So I think we just keep right down the road that we're going with that.
I think that part of what you're saying is true, and part of what Trustee Tate said is true. Decorum should come from the chair. I don't disagree with that. But as Trustee Burgess stated, sometimes, and thankfully you guys, the newer trustees have not been here through some of the more tumultuous, well, I mean, think back to 2010, 2011. I mean, I'm looking from those days when we've actually physically had to have police remove people because, as Trustee Burgess stated, some people there are times where sometimes people come here and they are so passionate, and it may not be on purpose or it may not be something that's vindictive. You can get it in yourself where you are not going to leave. And regardless of how your question is asked, if you don't like the answer that you've been given, that could also precipitate it. So I think that, you know, there have been times, and this is just me personally speaking, not as the chair, but as a trustee, there have been times where I have asked for a recess, that I have asked for the meetings to be adjourned, because I personally thought, whether it was board members or whether it was audience members to board members, that it was getting out of control and people had lost their decorum. And I think that sometimes you need to remove everyone from the situation. Now, whether that's a 2-minute recess like Trustee Burgess suggested, or it's ending the meeting, but it's a cooling off period, because when you keep going back and forth, it keeps getting worse. So I think that, again, I don't chair most meetings, but and I don't get up and answer questions from the audience because I'm up here, but I think that it's respect on both sides. It's like Trustee Tate stated earlier, you can agree to disagree. I'm not going to agree with everybody all the time, but I try to do it in the most respectful way possible. You know, because once we leave here, you know, if everybody voted no, this was my suggestion. I think it was good the way it was. But if everybody voted no for it, honestly, what do I care? You know, Trustee Burgess had a good suggestion. I agree with his suggestion. It's about compromise. It's about working together. Not everybody sees it that way sometimes. And that's why I think sometimes you just kind of need to stop and remove yourself from a situation. Because I don't think there's anybody up here as a trustee who hasn't at one time or another gotten frustrated or wanted to say things that maybe they bit their tongue or maybe they didn't bite their tongue, but things have been said. So with the 2-minute suggestion, so far I have 3 trustees that are saying yes. I have 1 trustee that says no. Trustee Washington and Trustee Myers, how do you feel with the 2-minute suggestion?
Well, for me, a prime example was a couple of weeks ago when a fight broke out. Allegedly, a fight broke out in the vestibule. We're here conducting business, we're going through the agenda, and everybody in the entire village hall gets up and run out those doors into the hallway. And I look at the mayor and I'm like, call the police. And he was like, no, I'm not gonna call the police. I'm like, call the police. We're in here, we don't know what's going on out there. So to answer your question, the 2-minute recess, I think those kind of situations need us to take a recess, find out what's going on. Somebody could be seriously getting hurt, and just to go on with the meeting, I think it's not wise because you don't know what's happening. Also, we've had fights that broke out in the village hall because I went back there to get in one to try to diffuse it because I knew everybody that was involved in it. I told the mayor that night, you need to call the police. He said, no, let's keep on going on with the meeting. So to answer your question, what Trustee Burgess suggested about a 2-minute recess, I feel in those kind of situations where you actually see residents standing up and ganging up and there's altercations verbally going on, a 2-minute recess needs to be called. And we do need to call the police to bring decorum because it's way out of control at that point. But other than that, I feel we should just let the committee meeting keep on going and ask that person, you know, your time is up. Thank you for your comments. If you don't mind, could you please have a seat? But I'll be glad to talk to you afterwards. If they won't sit down, then I guess what we're doing now is figuring out how we're going to handle those situations.
Yes.
But to completely shut it down, I feel that those 2 incidents in particularly, that wasn't years ago, that was this year. It's true. This month, last month, deems at least a 2-minute recess. And then I think that the clerk did call the police, and you called the police, and I called the police, because those situations, you do need somebody to come in and get total decorum back.
Trustee Myers?
I personally don't want to call the police on any of our residents because there's a reason why they want to get up there and say, whether talk to the mayor or talk to the board trustee. However, there has been times that a resident will get carried away and stay at the podium and continue to argue back and forth. And we're not going to get nowhere with arguing back and forth. I do like the suggestion Trustee Burgess put on the floor. I really do. However, I also see Trustee Jones, if you keep shutting the meeting down for ruling people, we can be here all night. And once again, if we put a time limit on the overall comments, then at least we know.
We're not there yet. That's the next
All
topic.
right, I won't go
We're
through
focusing on this.
in the ordinance,
2 minutes?
trustee, ordinance 2.
Trustee Jones.
Now with this 2 minutes, do we leave?
No.
We just stop.
What would happen is the mayor would call for a short recess to regain decorum. There would be a motion, there would be a second, there would be a vote. And then maybe the village clerk, who's the official timekeeper, would start the timer. At the end of 2 minutes, the mayor would come back. Hopefully the situation will have been diffused. The mayor will ask to reconvene the meeting, just like we do after executive session. The mayor would come back, we'd reconvene the meeting. He'd take a roll call, and we would go right back into public comment.
So this person is removed from the situation, or they just stand there for the 2 minutes and then come back and start right back up?
The person would hopefully essentially be removed from the podium. I don't think, unless there was a situation like what Trustee Washington was describing, where there was actual resident to resident altercation, the person wouldn't be removed from the building. But the intention is that during that 2 minutes, if the mayor personally or somebody else needs to approach that resident and say, you know, what's going on, how can I help you, whatever, it's a time to diffuse the situation. As Trustee Tate said, sometimes you've got residents heckling people, name calling people. That's a time for everybody to just kind of cool out. And then the mayor can pick back up the meeting after the 2 minutes. Okay, so we have 5-1 on that. Now, as Trustee Myers tried to jump ahead, establish an overall time limit for public comment. What we had discussed last night, and what was a suggestion from the Ordinance Review Committee as a whole, was to do an overall time limit. So if the overall time limit was an hour for public comment, then that would mean sticking at the 3-minute time frame, if we say with 3 minutes, that would mean that you would have 20 plus people being able to get up at a time and say their comments. It would not include if the resident came up and asked a question, I think, what did I put down here? I said, public comment shall last no longer than 1 hour per meeting. Should the time limit be reached during a time that a resident is speaking, the time limit will be extended to allow that resident their allotted time and for the mayor or his designee to respond. So that way, if we reach 60 minutes and the person's still asking their questions, we're not gonna be like, well, time's up, we gotta sit down, we're not gonna answer anything. It will be extended for that short period of time, but then nobody else would be allowed to come up to the podium. So how do we feel about that, Trustee Burns?
The reason why I'm laughing because we have some long-winded people. And I know I would be kind of upset if you sat there for 55 minutes and you talked. You only got 5 minutes left. I think we should limit it to per person because and I think you said it in the beginning that you asked one question. If you have more questions at the end, we will be more than happy to stay here to talk to. Oh, okay. Well, I don't think we should have a time limit on, in other words, I don't think we should say you have 1 hour for public comment. Public comment is public comment. If hopefully, you know, because if you say 1 hour, that means then the first thing on the list doesn't even apply. Because if you have it on there for 30 minutes, the person is talking, and now you created a debate. You're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But if you ask that question, if you need more clarification, then I think we should, you know, we're here, the board is here. If the limit is 5 minutes or whatever that it may be, then we stick with that. But if we give a time limit on how long we're going to do public comment, if we don't get rid of our business until 9 o'clock, and we say, okay, public comment for the next hour, now we're here to 10 o'clock, or someone can keep going on and on and on because you haven't stopped them. I think that there should not be a designated time limit for public comment. Public comment is public comment, and once we get to number 1 and establish how long they have, that's it. I don't think we should have a 1 hour, because then now we're looking at, you know, like last week we had public comment, no one came. So, I mean, but if you're gonna invite someone to debate, and you have, and you said it in your ordinance, that you're gonna be here for 1 hour. So if I wanna talk for that 1 hour, you committed to be here for that 1 hour. Because you've already stated that public comment lasts 1 hour at the end of the meeting. So where are you going? You can't go anywhere if you know, so I think we should not have a limit on that and just worry about what we're gonna do with the first thing, in other words, have it for where we can limit the time that a person talks or speaks on the subject.
Couple things. I do understand what your point is about maybe having to be here for the full hour. That wasn't the intent of what this stated, but I could see how maybe someone else could read that into it. So I would suggest, if we were going to go with this, having language that stated up to 1 hour. Because like yesterday, or I'm sorry, last week, opened up for public comment, nobody came to the podium. If nobody comes to the podium, we move on. And I think that that would be stated in here. But I think the other thing that you were talking about, there are two separate issues, is, you know, the item of how long people get to talk versus how the overall time limit. I think what the purpose was is, if we stick with the format that we have now, you get up to the podium, you have 3 minutes to say whatever you have to say, comments, questions, blue's my favorite color, you have your 3 minutes. Then there's time allotted for the mayor to speak. So in that time, if every person got 3 minutes and you left it for an hour, and I'm just throwing an hour out there, but if you left it for an hour, depending on the mayor's rebuttal to each question, you could potentially have 15 to 20 residents getting up and speaking, which we don't normally have that many anyway, but 15 to 20 residents asking their questions and then have people coming back. I think what the idea was regardless of how long each individual resident had, that the overall item on the agenda would not exceed an hour.
Now that makes sense, however, and we all know, we've been here, the rebuttal from the mayor may take 15 minutes per question. And then when that happens, then now you're shorting your time. I mean, so I think that I don't think we should have a limit on the public comment part of the agenda, because I have seen the mayor talk for 15 minutes on the subject, and one person asked one question, and then he talked about it for quite a while. So, and that's just one question. So if you got 15 people up there, it's going to be more than an hour. Then we'll go back to what we said before. Everyone's not going to be able to ask their questions because that hour is gone.
Okay. So your vote is no. Yeah. My vote is yes. Trustee Pates? No. Nope. Trustee Jones?
No.
Trustee Washington?
No.
Trustee Myers? Should put down my yes. I want to keep accurate notes. Okay. Moving to the next item, public comment open to any subject on both regular board meeting and committee meetings. I know it's something that has been talked about multiple times. I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions about that, or can we just take a general consensus?
That would be probably better.
Trustee Burgess?
Yes.
Trustee Tate? Yes. Trustee Jones? Trustee Washington?
Yes.
Trustee Myers? We're not pulling your arm. Trustee Myers? Yes? Okay. I'm in agreement with that as well. Extending public comment from 3 to 5 minutes. Now 5 minutes is what was thrown out there. It's currently at 3. Is there any discussion that needs to be had about that? So what this is stating that, exactly, currently it's 3, the vote is to go to 5. Okay, and again, it's not an actual vote, we're taking a consensus. I don't want anybody confused out there. Trustee Burgess.
I say 5 minutes.
Okay, I vote no for that. Trustee Tate.
Yes.
Trustee Jones. Trustee White. So that would be a no. Trustee Myers. 5 minutes. Okay, 4-2. So then the extent would go to 5 minutes at that time. So just as an overview of what we discussed for the board and for the audience members who I'm sure just lining up with questions. Extending the public comment from 3 to 5 minutes, the general consensus was a yes for that. Public comment on any subject at both regular board meetings and committee meetings. The general consensus was that was a unanimous thing, is a yes for that. To establish an overall time limit for public comment, that was no. To maintain order and decorum during public comment with the additions of trustee Tate stated adding no heckling or name calling, and trustee Burgess stated the 2-minute time for the recess instead of overall stopping public comment. The vote to that was yes. Suggestion box for public comments from the mayor, that was a no. Okay, does everybody get that? Okay, and then just as this excerpt at the bottom, we all know that ordinance can be amended at any time. One of the things that's not on here, but trustee Myers did bring it up in the beginning, is do we think that we need to have a trial period? Or should this be something that we just roll out? And then we can always go back to it if it needs to be changed. But do you think we need to do a trial period? I think what this intent was maybe before actually amending the agenda, actually amending the ordinance, go with these as practices without the actual changes in the ordinance and see how they work. And then if they work, go back and change the ordinance. If they don't work, then we revisit.
Me personally, and I know you know this already, trustee, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
You call me Rosie.
Okay. We're all elected officials. We're all adults here. We just rehashed it. We just got to talk about it. I think we should. That's what an amendment means. We should go ahead and put this ordinance in, and then at such time, if you have the vote to amend it, then you amend it at that time. I think a trial period is, this is a village. I mean, and everyone here is, knows what they're doing. I don't think anyone has any second thoughts. If they do have second thoughts, you've already polled and asked everybody how they felt. So I think that's good enough that we can make this amendment. And then down the line, this was put in place 2014. This is 2015. No, I'm sorry, 2011. It's 2015. So we want to amend it in a year's time. We can do that.
So your answer would be no.
We know to have a trial period.
Trustee King? No. Trustee Jones?
No.
Trustee Washington? No. Trustee Myers? I vote no as well. So, okay. So then, any other questions, comments? I would like to see if it could be on the, it has to go through the ordinance review committee. So what we would do now as a board is take these suggestions, bring it to the ordinance review committee, have a new ordinance drawn up to be reviewed by the ordinance review committee, and then it would be on the following board agenda. Trustee Myers.
Could you give me that copy of the draft ordinance you have, and then no problem. Just make sure I get one where I would like to get it to all the board members ASAP, and where they take a look at it and so forth. But we will try to put everything together and see what it looks like. We can give you all the board members a copy of that too.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Okay. Then it is time for, I'm sorry? About this topic. Any other comments, questions? That's the next topic. But I'm just making sure the board has no other things to say. Okay. Then with that being said, moving on to item number 5, which is public comment. As a reminder, all questions and comments must be directed to the chair. Each speaker will be given, is it turned on? Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to comment on their topic of choice. Each speaker will be allowed 1 opportunity to speak. And as a reminder, as I state every time I chair a meeting, I will write your questions down if I cannot answer them, and I will pass them on to the mayor, as I've done multiple times before. And I apologize in advance if you don't get the answer timely. I know that was an issue last time. Yes.
Tammy Jones, I have a concern. The construction that was done, or whatever the work that was done on 223rd, when they shut down by Murphy, that back road going towards Vernon,
you know, to get the bicycle trail or something you guys said that you're gonna put in. You're talking about 2 or 3. Was there any agency agreement between you guys and IDOT? And the second question is, Baxter Woodman was given this, as I understand it, you said this project at $124,000. Was that sent out for bid, or did I get the whole thing wrong? So my question is to you. And the third thing I want to talk about is the reform, and you said, now, is it possible to have department heads who actually know the answers to most residents' questions here, so they can ask the question? Because generally, you guys and the mayor don't, you know, can't answer the question. And also, when the resident come up with a question, can you actually ask the question, answer the question, and not talk all around it, and actually give the resident a question? And if the mayor asks the resident to come back, and he come back with an answer to the resident, and don't have him coming back every time he doesn't have addressed the resident's issue. Also, it might behoove you guys, as a matter of respect, when the resident is talking, to pay attention to the resident. And lastly, it's like this, a lot of times, you guys, this ordinance was put out, it seems to me you guys are battering the residents. You guys need to take a look at yourselves, and some of you guys are long-winded, you talk a long time just like we do. You need to cut back on some of the time and actually answer a resident's question. You guys always want us to direct that question to the mayor. The mayor doesn't have the answers sometimes. Sometimes we need to talk to you guys about what's going on. And not only that, we want other people to know what we're asking. We don't want just to put out questions on. No, we want everybody to know what we're talking about. And you guys need to cut back on your comments and your interaction with the residents. I know everybody gets a little high, but everybody does. Trustees, the mayor, and you guys need to watch what you're doing as well. And the ordinance really needs to put those department heads here so they can answer the residents' questions. They're the ones with the answers. You guys are supposed to hold questions. I don't have answers to anything. So that's mine.
Okay. I can tell you that I will pass on the comment about the department heads. I don't know if that would be put into effect on any meeting other than the board meeting, because they're not required to be here for committee meetings, but I did write that down, and I will pass that on.
Well, I just want them to answer. You could be able to answer them a question so they can answer you back.
Right.
Not the mayor or the trustee, the department head.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
About a few weeks ago, somebody hit our street light pole on the corner of 223rd Place. I want to know when, is there any idea when we get that fixed? And then we got a street light out on 224th Street in Brookwood.
Can you give me the cross street of where the pole was hit? You said 223rd Place.
Right on the corner of 223rd Place in Brookwood.
223rd Brooklyn.
East side of the street.
Okay.
And the street light is out on 224th Street. Just pitch black out there.
How long has it been out?
About 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
Jan Clark. I don't understand when there's a special meeting, this is my first question, why there is no audience abilities to ask questions. And also, I mean, it is a public meeting, and I'm wanting the mayor to, I would like you to ask the mayor why he does not direct Debbie to put audience participation questions on every meeting on Tuesday nights, like he's supposed to for Open Meeting Act, which is the law. I commend you all for nicely run, smooth meeting tonight, and I really appreciate personally the fact that we're going to have more audience participation at each meeting, not just the ones, you know, questions on items on the agenda. And my last question is, when we have designated trustees who spend the time to have committees and are working hard on projects, why do all the questions have to go to the mayor? I would like to say, Mr. Burgess, you know, what is your committee doing right now and where are you on this project, or Mr. Jones or whoever. I think it's disrespectful not to include them as part of the meeting, even though he is in charge and he was voted as mayor. He doesn't have to run the whole show. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a few issues with these speakers. How many people are here tonight to hear what they have to say? Raise your hands. Nobody's here to hear what they have to say?
Can you please address, you have to address the board, sorry, please.
All right, as I say, we're here to listen to what the people say. Could you please use your microphones, because we can't hear what you're saying back here. We're included in this too. We're here to hear what you got to say. We're included in this. We feel like we're not included. I'd like to know how, as for an idea, why don't you sit up there on the dais, everybody will have their own microphones, will have their own desk, we'll be included in the conversation, because we can hear, we won't have people using the microphones. That's what I'd like to see done. This idea of this ordinance being put in for 3 minutes to 5 minutes, I'd like to also discuss the fact of trustees. Some of the trustees go over and over the same thing. We're sitting here going around and around again, so why don't we have like a 5 or 7 minute for the trustees? Get her done. We don't need to sit here and listen to it 3, 4 times. We've got it on tape. You can look it up, you can watch it again. One time around would be enough. Maybe twice at the very most. Other than that, we're all adults, as was stated tonight. Let's move along and just get your piece done and be professional about it. Thank you.
Langston. I just want to make a announcement. The senior movie on September 14th is Brannigan. It's at 12:30. We also have blood pressure screening preceding that. On the same day at 11:30, we're going to have South Suburban Senior Services Catholic Charity speaker at 11:30 on Medicare fraud. That is also the same day that a luncheon is going to be provided. Reservation required, so you do need to call the library. I believe there's 8 openings. So reservation to library 757-4771.
What's the date of that?
September 14th, that's the second Monday.
Who? Brandigan?
Brannigan is the movie. And I forgot what the luncheon is, but you do need to call on that. I just want to make a comment on your item 4. You're talking about the 2-minute break. I can just see somebody deliberately causing 2 minutes. And as Trustee Jones mentioned, if everybody has 2 minutes, it could extend the time. So really consider that. I was really kind of disappointed you all voted against the time limit up to 1 hour, because it could extend it to quite some time. Thank you.
Not everybody voted against that. It didn't pass, but not everybody voted against it.
I hope that they will consider, we are here to do the village business. And we've all heard all the comments back and forth. But what we are really here for is to do the village business. And a lot of times when people are adamant about what they feel, We listen to everybody go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's just like a broken record. One time should be able to get it out, spit it out, say it without repeating 16 times. Get the business done of the village, and it shouldn't take an hour. If you have that much business, we have all these trustees that could be available after the meeting or before the meeting. We have a telephone number that could messages be left for anyone and everyone regarding what their question is, so that they can get an answer to it even before the meeting. If you have a question that's important to you, pick up the phone, call. That's what these people are here for. I mean, they're not always here when maybe somebody wanted to ask something tonight and they couldn't come. Pick up the phone, call, put a message in Mr. Jones's box. I'm sure he'd get back to you. So if you have a question, that's what we have trustees for. That's what we have a mayor for. Pick up the phone and call. If you can't make the meeting, pick up the phone. We have business to take care of when we are here without going back and forth and arguing and bickering and name calling. That should be a thing of the past. Let's hope so. Like we all are adults. Let's make it a thing of the past and go forward from here. Thank you.
Larry Stewart, Sauk Village. This was a well-run meeting. Should be done like this all the time. My comment is, I noticed that we have campaigning going on throughout the village. Campaigning, you know, we've got trustees, we've got people, we've got a mayor. On the water bills that come out, we have Meet the Mayor week after week listed on your water bills. How come I can't meet Mr. Tate or Mr. House or Mr. Burgess or anybody that would like to campaign to where everybody gets to meet them? I don't understand how that can be done to where it's Meet the Mayor week after week after week after week. Is this approved by the board? Has this been sanctioned? How does that go? You don't have to explain it to me. Explain it to the people that pay the water bills that are very low.
Anyone else? Okay. Item number 6, comments from trustees. Starting with Trustee Myers.
Last night, I was here and witnessed a fantastic thing. The Neighborhood Watch, Miss Washington Committee. The committee was able to give out a little over 250 book bags, and it was fantastic. I mean, just the look on the students' face when the little ones got their book bags and all the supplies, it was worth every dime of it. And all I gotta say, it was fantastic. And we worked with Miss Washington. We're going to try to outdo ourselves again next year. But, you know, it was pretty hard this year. So I'm gonna let her carry on with that. But it was great. It was great. And a couple of the residents made a very, very good point. Let's drop everything behind us and let's move forward. And tonight, it's a proof that we can move forward. We discussed the ordinance that we're putting together, and we have input, all our input. And we're going to put the ordinance together where the trustees everybody on the board will like it, and we're going to pass it on, and that'll be it. And I don't know what it is, but once again, when you do it, I think every one of us up here will I will certainly work with hand in hand any one of the trustees, and we can keep moving. But last night was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Thank you very much, Trustee Myers. It would be remiss of me not to, of course, piggyback off of what Trustee Myers said. It wasn't just about last night being a great opportunity to see the look on the young ladies and young men's faces that received the book bags, the parents. I tell you, I personally have not seen this room this packed since we've talked about the water. There was so many people in here last night. We could not see out of this room. The media was here, the press was here, the parents were here, the children were here, school board members were here, elected officials were here. I want to thank Trustee Williams and the village clerk who just stepped to the plate, and Trustee Burgess for coming on last night. And I tell you, wow. I made a joke with the audience. I say, it rained today. You all weren't supposed to come out. And everybody started laughing, because this room was not only packed, all the seats and all around the wall and all on the floor, all in the hallway, all the way down the hallway, all the way outside. I'm gonna hit you. The deputy chief came over in Salisbury to the back, Salisbury. She was like, I just came to check on you. That land is all the way around this building. I said, I know we can't start because people are still outside. But it was really an exciting event on last night. I was so excited with the panel, Dr. Navarre, and I want to thank my school board members here, for allowing Mr. Johnson, Jeremiah Johnson, and Ms. Patterson. They came to represent Dr. Leak, because your school board meeting was last night, but one of your school board members did sneak over for a few minutes. And the Sergeant Morris that was here last night, the panel was just officer, maybe he needs to get a raise. But I just appreciate all of the panelists that was here last night, all that they had to say to encourage the young people, safety in the community, safety on the bus stops, safety on the school grounds, no bullying in school. It was just a wealth of information, and they all got book bags, 250 free book bags, all filled with school supplies. And I mean, they were so happy opening up there. We had a big cake. And I just thank the village clerk for stepping in, her and Latanya West. They cut that cake. That cake was about this long. I'm like, all that cake is gone? You see some of it. Well, I'm not gonna say that. But anyway, we had a great time. And I was talking to Tequila that was in the back. I have to give kudos out to her and all the block club captains that worked so hard. And I just want to share this with many members that's working hard to make your committee run. As of Thursday, we had absolutely no book bags. Somebody dropped the ball and the book bags were not ordered. And after I got off the phone, hearing the news that there were no book bags ordered, the order was not placed, the ball was dropped, needless to say, if my blood pressure could go any higher, I would have been in the hospital. But my committee, in talking with Mohan and Mr. Fairman and the mayor, we made it happen. And when those children walked in this room, we shopped all day Friday night, all day Saturday. We was in Walmart with 8 big shopping carts, 8 full running over. The store was like, where are you all going? We're like, Sauk Village. Well, I'll give something on that, people in the store. And I am happy to announce that from July the 18th, when we had that first tag day in 90-degree weather, those block club captains standing out there at that intersection, even until today, that the neighborhood watch raised $2,345.12. I think that deserves a big hand clap for the residents that worked that hard. Every block club captain that stood in that 91, 100-degree weather from 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock, holding out that little jug, shaking it, to those that stood in the lines at the stores, and they got to scan every box of crayon, every glue stick, every spiral notebook. It was just so overwhelming to see all the people that was here. And I shared this with them last night, and they came up, they thanked the panel, they thanked the committee, they thanked Trustee Myers, who is an awesome co-chair. I mean, they were like, you know, you all did this just for us, just for the children. Thank you. So for Rose Langston, for all of you all that gave, I can't call names, but there's a program in the back, and all of our sponsors are on the back, and people are still giving me checks today. I'm picking up checks and giving them to get ready to turn into Mohan tomorrow. So it's a community effort. And I want to thank you all that jumped in to help make that happen, because I can't do it by myself. And you can't do it by yourself. But like I told them last night, with all of us working together in this room, we will turn this village around. And they gave a thundering round of applause. So I want to thank all of you that gave, and all of you all that just brought supplies, the clerk. Like I say, Trustee Williams, Pat Couch had that bling bling bag last night, and everybody was on edge trying to get that bling bling book bag. And one little girl won it, and her name is Diamond. So she's gonna get her name and brought it on that book bag, and she was ecstatic. I won! So when you can bring excitement to the village, that's a positive thing, and that's a good thing. So I want to send kudos out to the entire neighborhood watching, all of you that participated again. Thank you, because that was a heartbreaking moment when you get a phone call on Thursday. Oh, there's no order. What do you mean there's no order? There are no book bags. The program is Monday, but we raised $2,345.12, because I'm not never going to jail for stealing no glue and no erasers and no pencils. So if you want to FOIA anything, you can FOIA Mohan. Every receipt was turned in and we cashed out. I say spend every dime on these children in Sauk Village. Our aim was for 200, but we ended up providing 250 book bags, so that's an awesome thing. And thank you, Sauk Village.
The corn dog roast, I hope everyone's ready to find out what's the popular one, the hot dog or the roasted corn. We're gonna see which one gets more attention, which one gets eaten up the most. And that will be happening September 12th. Starting at 1 o'clock to 5, right behind the community center. Right behind Village Hall. All welcome. That's it.
The first thing is that I noticed there's some people out in the back parking lot looking at the memorial stone for the veterans. And if you haven't had a chance to go out there, please go out there in daylight and take a look at that. On the back table, there's some information for the vets. The veterans that have been identifying themselves to me, I appreciate it. I want more of the veterans to do that. There's some materials on the back for you to continue to identify yourselves. There's some material on the back table that talks about a disabled American veterans, 2 seminars, 2-day seminars, one each day. And for the vets, one of them is at a VFW hall, and I know all about that, so I'm saying, even though it's at a VFW hall, please still go there and get the information. And the clerk gave me some information that's in the back to help you get some assistance if you have medical questions or benefit questions. She gave me a flyer. That's on the back table. So some things back there for the vets, pick them up and utilize them. We don't want any of our veterans suffering any more than they need to. So we said, we found the resources for you, but we need you to participate. We need you to pick that piece of paper up and make that phone call. Or if you need help making that phone call, we can do that too. So I'd like you to pay attention to that on the back table. That's for the veterans. I have questions for the mayor, so I'll hold them until he returns.
Trustee Burgess.
That I happened to see last Friday here. I was attending one of the leisure time, I guess you call it senior leisure time event that they have every second and fourth Friday from 12 to whatever. But I really come so I can play cards. I don't know about anyone else, but I like playing cards. But during that time, there's something that I don't know when you're going to get a chance to talk to the mayor, and also we have the village manager here. I think someone, either himself or either the mayor himself or someone should come and sit in to the, I don't know if the senior committee or whatever, to see how things are going, because what I witnessed Friday between grown adults and seniors was really deplorable. There was words that were being mentioned, there was phrases being said, and we have to stop this. This should not go any further. It was getting loud, had to come in and close the doors and things like that. I think this is something that needs to be really looked at, starting with the mayor. Before, when we have problems with the seniors, Rose knows that myself, and at the time it was Trustee Hanks, he was a trustee, we sat down and we came into the meetings and listened to what they had to say. I think now something needs to be at least come and observe. So because what I saw was something that I don't want it to excel and to get out any further, but I think we should, and that's why I'm bringing it up, so we could stop that. It was really deplorable, and I really didn't like what I saw, and I didn't like how it was handled. And the more things were said, the more it got divided. So I think there should be some intervention there on the elected officials and the village manager to address those issues, and that's why I'm bringing them up. I'm not going to bring up details, but I think that should be looked into. And also, tomorrow night, I will have a town hall meeting to be here at 7 o'clock. All are welcome. I do have a couple of surprises, and that's why I call them surprises, so you can come out and see what it's all about. So don't ask me after the meeting, what is it? It's a surprise. So, and then I also have, if someone can let me know when the mayor comes back, because there's some things that I need to ask him before the next meeting. So I don't know, Mr. Fairman. I need to have an audience with him before next meeting. I'm not going to bring it up here, but we need to discuss some things that I've talked to him about already. So I didn't know he wasn't going to be here tonight. But now that he's not, we need to bring these things up before the next board meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. And just a couple items from me. Number one, we have a public relations meeting here tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And I've written down all the questions from the trustees and from the audience members, and I'll type those up and give them to him. And I just wanted to, there was there was a few people who have congratulated the way the meeting was run tonight, and I just wanted to thank my board members, my fellow board members, and my audience members as well. I think that this meeting was a very good meeting. I think we got a lot of accomplished. The public comment situation was something that has been going on for a very long time, in my opinion, and I think that it's got resolved at this point. We're a step closer. So I just want to thank the board for going through the process and making sure that we got the process taken down, and we can move forward from that. And I do like the idea of the board having a time limit as well, as the trustees, or as the audience members do. 2 residents brought that up, and I actually don't think that's a bad idea. So that's something that I'm gonna add as a comment from me. If we had 5 minutes per topic or whatever, then that would also cut down to the meeting time and kind of stop the rambling and the going back and forth. So I'm going to pass it on from Trustee Washington.
To piggyback off of what one of the residents talked about, the water bill, I don't know how you get to have your announcement or your advertisement put on the water bill. I do have a copy of the water bill right here, and I see where it does say, meet the mayor second Saturday of the month at Village Hall from 9 to 11. I'm just asking if all the committees can put that on the water bill, or that's something that you can write to ask the mayor.
I did. That was a question that I did write down, because I'm not sure how those things get on the water bill, but it's something that the mayor will address to the board and the audience, because I did write that down.
And what do we do if we want to bring up another subject at the committee of the whole that we talked about? When do we bring that up to ask what to be put on the agenda for us to have discussion? Can I do that tonight? What do we put on the board?
For the next committee of the whole? You could have it written down by the clerk, and then the mayor does create the agenda, but if you wanted to let the clerk know you want an item to be discussed, that would be an appropriate time to do that.
Okay, just let her know.
Okay. Anything else? Sure. Trustee Tate? Village Clerk Williams? Oh, I should announce that. I will announce that. Okay. I'm not sure if you saw it on Facebook this evening, but Gospel Fest has canceled. Bill Hall will be at the site in case anybody does want to come for a time of prayer or fellowship, but due to lack of participation, Gospel Fest is canceled this year. I was upset about it, but. Trustee Tate?
I had a question for the clerk. Hi there. During the public comment portion of the agenda, a lot of questions, I shouldn't say a lot, questions are answered, and they are not responded to. They're asked but not answered, I should say. Would that make the agenda, the minutes any longer if you devoted one sentence to each question so that we'll know what was asked? Because sometimes a resident will say, well, I asked this question 2 weeks ago and you guys haven't answered it yet. There's no record of it. Okay, I'll pay closer attention. Yeah. Because I had noticed that on some of the questions, but I've heard residents say that I asked that, you told me to come back to get an answer, and you didn't get an answer. So I just want to make sure we know.
I may make a synopsis, like if it's about water, I could say, so-and-so got up and spoke about water. Okay, it might not be every individual question, but sometimes questions run into each other, but the response that the mayor gives hopefully answers all the rest of his questions. Okay. And if not, it's up to him to talk to the resident or how to get that answer out.
Okay.
But feel free to bring it to my attention if you don't think it's being addressed properly in the comment section.
All right, thank you.
Without anything else, can I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All those in favor? Aye.